All right, today I'm going to talk about options because everyone likes to have options. So this new Ryobi saw that uses the Edge battery, which is a great saw, it uses a 70 driver low profile 3/8 chain. And that's basically your choice. It comes with a full chisel. I would recommend using a full chisel. But that's the chain that you can get. There might be a couple of different brands, but there's not really any variation that I know of with this. So with the and it has what's called a KO41 tailstock, and that tailstock, that's an Oregon number, and it's kind of specialized. It advanced cut, I think is what Oregon calls it, but it oils through the other hole. Like this hole will tension the bar, and then there's a slice in each hole so that it connects up to the guide, and oil goes through the other hole up into the guide to lube the chain. And there's pretty limited option for bars. So you can modify a bar to run 3/8, which I've done, which does yield better cut times, but not everyone wants to go around and mess with their chain like that. So I wanted to present options that don't involve any kind of modification. So the first thing is this tailstock, which is the 3/8 low profile. This matches exactly the KO41, the Greenworks commercial bar. So if you hold these two up, they line right up. Now, this bar runs 325, which is 78 driver, and there's a lot of different options with that. But you do have to change this out if you're going to run 325. So this is the 3/8, but this is 325. So one of the interesting options about this is there's a 7 driver and an 8 driver. And as you can see, the 8 driver is bigger around. The Ryobi has relatively slow chain speed, but it has plenty of torque. So you can up the chain speed a little bit with this. You'll give up a little torque, and you have more drivers with the 325. But there's different chain options. So I'll show you. The first thing is switching that, which is pretty straightforward. You just take this retainer off like I just did. You take your 3/8 off and you put on the 325. Okay? And I'm going to use, now we can do a bunch of experimenting to see what's going to work the best, because we don't really know till we try. But I'm going to try this larger one because I think that this has the torque to run it faster. There's more cutters on the 325. This has 78 cutters instead of 70 on the other chain. But when we'll compare these two types of chains directly. So I'll hold these right up, and now I'm going to bring you in so you can look. Okay? Nice and close. Now, this is the 3/8 low profile. This is an Oregon LGX 3/8, 325, which is the most aggressive chain Oregon makes that I know of. And you see the cutter on the 3/8 is a little bit, this is a little bit bigger. And if you come this way, they're about the same. It looks like you get a little more depth with the 3/8. But if we go over, we'll go over one. This is a Kakei, but it's a knockoff of the Stihl 23 RS Rapid Super. And you can see that the gullet's a little bit bigger. And if you come down this way, you can see that it's wider and it comes up higher. than this. So this chain's probably going to cut at least as aggressively as this, and you have the more cutters. And then this one, it's an Oregon chain, but it's off of the Milwaukee saw, and I included it because the gullet is huge compared to these other ones. It's not quite as big as a traditional 3/8, but it's bigger than the 325 or the 3/8 LP. It's the largest cutter I've seen on a 325, but it's a semi chisel, and it's made by Oregon. It must be special for Milwaukee is all I can think. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. But it's probably as wide as that, which is wider than these two. So these, for a semi chisel, this cuts very aggressively. It's too bad you can't get this cutter in a full chisel, because it would be a very good 325 cutter. But I'm betting that this chain's going to cut the most aggressively out of the 4 of these. But we're going to try that out. So we're going to put this on there, and we're going to run the Greenworks bar, which is the same as that Oregon KO 41, because that's the tailstock, same as the Ryobi, but it's 325 instead of 3/8 low profile, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, we got the 325 on. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention with this type of setup is it's good to keep the bar clean, because this piece of rubber is actually going to block that oil hole to keep oil from coming out, so that it forces it up into the guide to lubricate the chain. So it's good to keep that clean and the bar clean, so you get a good seal right there. All right. We got quite a few cuts to make, but I think we got enough log to do it. And it'll be most of the bar. So I'm starting off with the 8-tooth, and I've got the RS clone. So we'll start with that, and then we'll move to the Milwaukee chain, and we'll move to the Oregon LGX, and then I'll change over to the 7. We'll do the same thing again, and then we'll hit it with the maybe somewhere in between. We'll hit it with the low profile 3/8, and that's a full chisel. So these are all full chisel. These will be the 325, and then this is rock maple, so it's pretty good wood, and we got a pretty good log. So we'll do some cutting on it. That thing's got some torque. I'm leaning on it. All right, this is the Milwaukee semi chisel, but it's the big cutter, so we'll try this one. 8-tooth. All right, Oregon LGX up next. All right, they should all be the same length, but they're not. That LGX chain is just a little bit shorter, and with the bigger 8-tooth, it wouldn't fit. So this is going to be, the LGX will only get the 7-tooth treatment. I'm only going to do one cut, and I'm giving it a lot of effort. All right, this is the RS clone. I'm giving it a lot, so I'm actually gonna, especially with the 7-tooth where we'll have less speed and more torque, I'm gonna do one through, but then on the second one I'm gonna put the dogs in it. All right, this is the Milwaukee semi chisel, which is, I believe this is the same as it's an Oregon chain, so I believe it's a 95 TXL 78 drive link or a M78. So this is with the 7-tooth driver. So I just want to mention, I'm actually using a 3/8. It's not a low profile because 3/8 chain will fit in here also. And then that way I can run 3/8 because this cut's good with 3/8. And this might be a little bit bigger than the 3/8 low profile. So we'll find we have a little bit more speed. All right, 3/8 low profile. This is what comes with it. All right, I guess I've been working this thing a little hard, so we're going to give the battery a break and we're going to come back and try it again. Time. Things went in a different direction, blah, blah, blah. I'll finish this cut and then we'll do a fresh cut. All right. So I wanted to get the chain game even more. I want to take it further. So I got an RS23, not a clone, an original. And I got the Husqvarna C33, which is their newer, more aggressive 325 chain. And I'm curious. I really want to try this out because I watched this getting used, and it was really aggressive, I guess. And I think the torque of the electric saw is actually going to work in favor of this chain. So I just will take a look at these chains next to each other and next to the other chains. I'll line them right up because here's the other ones, and we'll look at them, and then we'll throw them into the cutting mix. Go take a close look. So looking at them from here, go in. It's a nice wide cutter comparatively. That's the RS. This is the C33, the wide cutter. And then that's the RS clone that we just tried out. And then that's the semi-chisel Milwaukee, which is still wide. And then is that the LGX? Yeah, that's the LGX. That's the Oregon. And now let's look from this angle. RS clone. RS. That thing does have quite a hook on it. And then this is the C33, which it doesn't hook out quite as hard. You see that hook at the very end of it. And then we'll compare that to the C33. It's a different, the angle's different, so it'll be curious to see how this goes. And it looks like, boy, I gotta measure that, but it looks like there might be a little bit bigger distance between the top of the raker and the cutter on this one. But we'll have to find out in the woods. So there's a look at them. All right, so same as with the Milwaukee, was it the Oregon LGX? I could not get the 8 rim to fit on this, so it's just going to be the 7 tooth sprocket driving it. All right, Husqvarna C33. That is a hungry chain. Okay, last up, and more than likely not least, is the Stihl RS23. All right. Hey, the reason I like doing these tests is because I find stuff out, and sometimes I'm surprised. I don't know if anyone else was, but I was surprised by the results of this. You know, I expected the RS23 or the C33 to be the best, and I expected the 3/8 chain to be better than any of the 325. But again, maybe, I don't know, due to the low speed and the high torque of this saw, that's why it worked out the way it did. I don't know. And it works out different on every saw. Like these chains, like finding out that this M78 speed cut was the best chain on this saw doesn't mean that it's going to be the best chain on another saw. But that's how it worked out. And it was, and full disclosure, the chain that I was using came off the Milwaukee. It's a chain that comes with the Milwaukee 20-inch chainsaw. It wasn't a new chain, so maybe it would have even been better had it been a new chain. But those are the results. It was, I think it was the Milwaukee, the 3/8 C83 chain, the RS23, the Oregon power cut did pretty good, but the Oregon speed cut did the best. So, and I didn't find a big difference. You see on the results, I didn't find a big difference between the 8-tooth sprocket and the 7-tooth sprocket. Although I probably didn't have, like, I was limited by what the saw could handle, but I didn't have to lean on it quite as hard with the 8-tooth because it was moving faster versus having to use more of the saw's torque with the 7-tooth. So you could get maybe faster cutting if you were using your hands. I mean, once you get the dogs in, then you're using that for leverage, and you're not having to push as hard. But where I was trying to just do the straight cuts, I was really leaning on that thing with a couple of the chains anyways, as much as they would take before it started slowing down. So and I will say, with the 3/8 chain, this was a C83. The rakers from the factory a little bit higher than on the Oregon LX chain, or the there's another frostbite chain. But so they may actually have done better with this saw. I don't know. It was just for comparison though. So these 325 chains, without having to do anything to modify the saw other than throw in that Oregon, and I'll put the number in the description, but it is the same thing as the Greenworks commercial 20-inch saw. It will go right on there. You just have to change your sprocket from a 3/8 low profile to a 325, and you're in business. You don't have to do any kind of modification, and you will gain cutting speed using that speed cut, this right here from Oregon, and a fair amount. And I haven't used it a ton, but what I've heard is because it's semi chisel, they do last longer than the full chisels do. And I said that was rock maple. It seemed like it was throwing pretty big chips. Maybe it was soft maple. I don't know. So maybe we'll try this again in oak some other time. But those were the results I got. Hopefully that's useful. You can get the most out of this Ryobi when you're using it, and maybe save a few bucks on re-upping with your chains. Thanks for watching. We'll be doing more with this for sure.